I want you to think back
Yeah.
to a very specific feeling. Like, have you ever finally achieved a massive goal?
Oh, yeah. We all have that one thing we're chasing.
Right. Maybe you secured that promotion you've been, just grinding away at for years. Or you finally signed the closing papers and walked into your dream house. Or handed in a massive project that's just consumed your life for months.
And you get that immediate rush, right?
Exactly. You have the celebration, you pop the champagne, you get the influx of congratulatory texts, and then you wake up the next morning and you feel strangely empty.
It's the worst
You
feeling.
look around and think, wait, is this it? I thought this was going to fix everything. I
Yeah.
thought it would finally feel like done.
Yeah, psychologists actually have a term for that exact experience. They call it the arrival fallacy.
The arrival fallacy.
Right. It's this illusion that once we attain a certain goal, we will reach a permanent state of happiness. And we structure our entire lives around this implicit promise, you know?
We really do.
Mm.
We think the next milestone is the magic bullet.
Exactly. We believe the next acquisition or the next title will finally deliver lasting peace. But when it fails to do that, we rarely question the system itself. We just assume, well, I must have aimed for the wrong milestone.
Or it wasn't big enough, so we get right back on the treadmill and just
Oh.
crank up the speed.
We double down. We completely double down on the very thing that left us feeling empty in the first place.
Which brings us perfectly to the source material we are unpacking today. We're looking at a deeply philosophical, pretty uncompromising text, actually, titled The Thirst for Fulfillment.
It really doesn't pull any punches.
No, it doesn't. And the mission of this deep dive is to unpack the text's diagnosis of our modern exhaustion and explore its radical prescription for finding actual sustainable peace.
Yeah, the author establishes the stakes immediately with this really stark observation about the baseline human condition.
What do they say?
The text instructs us to look at any face outside, and it observes that, quoting the text here, no joy lives there to find.
Wow, just universally no joy.
Yeah, it paints this landscape where everyone is just racing, chasing, and thirsting to be satisfied. But then it introduces the core dilemma that defines this entire philosophy, which is that, quote, even in fulfillment, no fulfillment hides.
Even in fulfillment, no fulfillment hides. I mean, that captures that morning after emptiness of the arrival fallacy perfectly.
It really does. The text is basically arguing that fulfillment, as we traditionally understand it, like as an external destination, is a complete mirage.
Because by its very nature, the closer you get to it, the faster it just vanishes into the next desire.
Right. And to understand how someone might actually break out of this loop, the text pivots from this universal human condition to a really specific historical case study.
The story of the Buddha.
Exactly. The moment the Buddha decided to walk away from his life. And the narrative takes us directly to the moment of departure.
And it's not like a peaceful scene.
No, not at all. It's crucial to note that the text doesn't depict this as some serene, peaceful stroll out the front gate. There is immense friction. The Buddha is leaving the palace walls, and he is confronted by this literal voice of societal expectation. His charioteer cries out, "Stay!"
And the charioteer doesn't just ask nicely either. He hits him with a massive, highly targeted guilt trip.
Oh, absolutely.
He pleads with the Buddha to consider his wife, his newborn son Rahul, his aging parents, and what the text calls the massive kingdom's weight.
The kingdom's weight, it's such a heavy phrase.
Right. And if you translate that to our modern context, the charioteer represents every single external pressure we face today.
Yeah, the charioteer is the mortgage.
Exactly. The mortgage, the team of employees relying on you, the parents who brag about your title to their friends, your spouse who expects a certain standard of living. Society leverages all of these attachments to keep you on that treadmill.
And the charioteer's plea is really the pivot point of the narrative because it voices the primary defense mechanism of the society we live in.
Which is what? Exactly.
Well, whenever an individual attempts to step out of the cycle of endless ambition, the immediate societal response is a moral accusation.
Oh, like you're being bad for stopping.
Right. The accusation is that prioritizing internal peace over your external duty is inherently selfish.
Okay, I actually have to pause and push back on the text here. Because I'm looking at it from the charioteer's perspective, and it seems like a completely valid accusation.
It's definitely the natural reaction to have.
I mean, look at what is actually happening. The Buddha is leaving a newborn baby and aging parents to go sit in the woods and find himself. In a modern context, we wouldn't call that a spiritual awakening.
What would we call it?
We'd call it a midlife crisis.
Yep.
Or just flat-out abandonment. Like, how is abandoning your dependence a path to higher understanding? It looks like a coward just running away from the intense pressure of adult responsibility.
That is exactly the pushback the text anticipates.
Yeah.
But the Buddha's response to the charioteer rests on this crucial psychological distinction.
Okay, what's his defense?
He answers with quiet grace, saying, quote, "I am not running. I am done with the exhaustion of unrest."
I am done.
Right. The entire philosophical weight of this scene hinges on the difference between running away out of fear and being done with a broken system.
Okay, so someone who's running away still fundamentally believes the game is worth playing. They just feel like they're currently losing.
Exactly. They think if they move to a new city or quit their stressful job to find an easier one, they might finally win the game.
So they are fleeing the pressure, but they haven't abandoned the pursuit of external fulfillment
That is the defining characteristic of running away. You still believe the illusion. But the Buddha is not fleeing in a panic because the pressure is too high.
because he already has everything.
Right. He has experienced the absolute zenith of what his society has to offer. The ultimate wealth, absolute power, family, status. He hasn't failed at the game. He's won it.
And from that vantage point of victory, he realizes the game itself only generates suffering.
Yes. He says that within those palace walls, no joy is won. Not in his father's kingly throne, and critically, not in the people's weary breast either.
So he looks at the entire socioeconomic spectrum of his kingdom and sees that the king is just as trapped by the unrest as the commoner.
Exactly. The treadmill is equally exhausting, whether the handrails are made of solid gold or cheap plastic.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. He sees that staying in the palace means living attached to a cycle of temporary gains and inevitable losses, which the text says only leads us to, quote, grieve and mourn.
But even understanding that logic, the reality of leaving his family behind is brutal. It highlights just how radical a break the text is demanding.
Because you can't dismantle the illusion while simultaneously fulfilling the duties the illusion requires.
Right. The text suggests he realizes he cannot help his family or his kingdom by remaining trapped in the same delusion they are suffering from.
You have to get out.
Yeah, his ultimate stated goal is to hold all souls with equal love, with equal flame. But he has to step outside of the burning building to find the water, so to speak.
But walking out the palace doors creates a completely new problem, though. The text immediately pivots to warn us that leaving the physical triggers of stress behind doesn't actually solve the internal mechanics of your suffering.
No, it doesn't.
Like, the Buddha might have left the kingdom's weight, but he quickly realizes you cannot outrun your own psychology.
The text illustrates this with a deeply visceral analogy. It states, when fire takes your house, you flee into the night. But when fire takes your mind, there is nowhere left to flight.
Oh man, we see this constantly today. It's a classic burnout mistake.
How so?
You hit a wall at work, your anxiety is through the roof, so you think, I'm going to book an expensive tropical vacation.
Oh, the escape vacation.
Yes, you think, if I can just get to a beach in Mexico, I will finally be relaxed. So you arrive, you have the drink in your hand, you're staring at the beautiful ocean, and your heart is still pounding.
You're mentally arguing with your boss.
Exactly. Or obsessing over your inbox. The physical environment changed, but the internal fire is still raging just as hot because you packed your anxious brain in your carry-on luggage.
That is so true. Fleeing into the night only works for a physical threat. If the unrest is an internal condition, then changing your external geography does absolutely nothing.
The anxiety just travels with you.
It does, and the text offers a resolution to this mental fire, but I'll warn you, it is intense and highly counterintuitive.
Oh, lay on me.
It instructs the reader that they must, quote, burn from deep within yourself till nothing remains but light.
Burn from deep within yourself. I mean, I'm sorry, but that sounds like a poetic way to describe torture.
It does sound painful.
Instead of putting the fire out, the text is literally telling us to let it burn.
Yeah.
How does that actually function in practice?
Well, if we translate that poetic language into modern psychology, it actually aligns perfectly with concepts like radical acceptance or exposure therapy.
Oh, okay.
When we feel the mental fire of anxiety, our immediate evolutionary instinct is distraction. We try to throw water on the fire by scrolling on our phone.
We're buying something online.
Right, or pouring a drink, or just throwing ourselves into a new work project. We are terrified of sitting with the discomfort.
We want a quick fix.
Yeah, but the text argues that this fire is actually fueled by our resistance to it. It's fueled by all our attachments and our false idea about what we actually need to be happy.
So the distraction doesn't put the fire out. It just temporarily hides the flames while secretly adding more fuel.
Exactly. Sitting with the fire means leaning into the discomfort.
So if you sit alone in a room without your phone, without your titles, without your usual distractions, the anxiety of not being productive or not chasing the next thing is going to flare up dramatically.
It will be agonizing at first.
But if you refuse to feed it with the distraction, eventually the anxiety burns through its own fuel supply.
That is the internal alchemy the text is describing. You stop trying to extinguish the discomfort, and instead you just let it consume all those false dependencies until, as the text says, nothing remains but light.
Meaning clarity.
Right, meaning clarity. You realize the discomfort couldn't actually destroy you.
But sitting in the flames of our own minds is an incredibly difficult practice. Naturally, when people realize they can't physically run away and they really don't want to sit in the fire, they look for a loophole.
Of course they do.
They look for someone else to put the fire out for them. And the text addresses this desperation, noting what happens when our, quote, outer battles break us.
Yeah, the author observes that when people are broken by the outward race, when they finally accept that a corner office or a luxury car won't bring them peace, crowds go searching everywhere for a cure.
And where do they look?
The text explicitly lists it. It says they turn to gurus, masters, sacred teachings, temples, prayers, rituals, and creeds.
See, this is a fascinating pivot in the text because it makes a sweeping, almost controversial grouping here.
It really is bold.
It states that fulfillment lives, quote, nowhere out there, and that no possession fills the hollow, no achievement clears the air. By placing temples and sacred teachings in the very same category as worldly achievements, it kind of implies that the massive multi-trillion-dollar wellness and spirituality industry is just another dead end.
Yeah, the text is directly dismantling the trap of spiritual consumerism.
Spiritual consumerism.
Right. Now, the author is not necessarily condemning temples or teachers or rituals as inherently bad things. What is being condemned is the mindset the individual brings to them.
Okay, so when you talk about a consumer mindset in this context, you mean we are treating like a meditation retreat or a new philosophy the exact same way we treat buying a new car.
Yes, exactly. It's a transaction.
We expect to pay time or money or devotion and receive peace of mind in return. We've just swapped out the currency.
That's spot on.
Instead of chasing dollars, we're chasing spiritual merit badges.
We treat the guru or the spiritual practice like a vending machine. The fundamental mechanism, the chasing, the racing, the thirsting for an external fix hasn't changed at all.
We're still on the treadmill, we're just wearing yoga pants now.
Huh, exactly. And the text is incredibly firm on this point. No possession fills the hollow. That includes the possession of spiritual knowledge.
Because it's still outside of you.
Right. As long as you are searching out there, relying on an external authority to extinguish your internal fire, you are still running.
Well, if the external search is a complete dead end across the board, the text has to offer an alternative. Like it pivots from the failure of the external world to the architecture of the mind itself.
Yes. The ultimate solution is presented through a really profound shift in perspective. The text declares that the mind is its own dwelling.
The mind is its own dwelling.
It states that a true home is built from seeds planted deep inside its chambers, completely separate from outside wants and needs.
Okay, if we're talking about seeds, I feel like the perfect contrast here is between buying cut flowers and planting a garden.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, external validation, getting a promotion, having a guru praise your progress, getting likes on a social media post, those are cut flowers.
They look nice right away.
Right, they look beautiful immediately, you can buy them quickly, but they have no roots. They are separated from their life source, so they inevitably wither in a few days, and then you have to go right back at them, buy more.
You're dependent on the flower shop.
Exactly. The text is telling us to stop buying cut flowers and start planting seeds. And a seed requires you to sit in the dark dirt.
The fire we talked about earlier.
Yes. It takes time, patience, and internal cultivation. But once it grows, it has its own root system. It sustains itself regardless of what is happening at the flower shop.
That analogy perfectly captures the mechanics of self-generated peace. A contentment that relies on nothing outside of your own existence cannot be taken away by external circumstances.
It's bulletproof.
It is. And the text includes that the ultimate goal is to pause the outward race, to journey inward, and to, quote, come home to your own face.
Come home to your own face. That phrase carries a lot of psychological weight.
It really does.
It kind of implies that right now we are walking around wearing faces that don't even belong to us.
Well, it speaks to the psychological burden of maintaining a persona. In the outward race, we are constantly wearing masks to appease the charioteers we discussed earlier.
Right. Society's expectations.
You wear the mask of the relentless employee, the mask of the perfect provider, or even the mask of the enlightened yoga student. We construct all these identities to secure external rewards.
But keeping that up is exhausting.
Exactly. When you wear a mask long enough, the maintenance of that false face becomes your whole life. You lose contact with who you are underneath the performance.
So coming home to your own face means stripping away every single identity that is predicated on societal expectation or external achievement.
You drop the masks, and you encounter your unadorned self.
It's an invitation to just stop performing. And the text promises that life only becomes truly beautiful when that outward race is finally paused and you meet yourself without the exhaustion of unrest.
It is a radically challenging philosophy because it systematically dismantles every single coping mechanism we use to avoid looking inward.
It takes away all our toys.
It does. It takes away our material ambitions, it takes away our geographic escapes, and it even takes away our spiritual authorities. It leaves us with nothing but our own minds and the instruction to cultivate our own roots.
Wow. Let's pull all of this together. We started with the arrival fallacy, this shared illusion that the next achievement will bring us lasting peace.
Which we know it doesn't.
Right. And then we explored the Buddha's realization that you cannot solve a rigged game by winning it. You have to be done with it entirely, even when society screams at you to stay.
Even when the charioteer begs you.
Exactly. We examined the inescapability of the mind's fire, the trap of treating spirituality like just another consumer good, and the ultimate necessity of planting rooted seeds within our own mental dwelling, rather than relying on the cut flowers of external validation.
The through line here is just a relentless push toward internal sovereignty. It is a demand to stop outsourcing your fulfillment to the world around you.
So, to you listening, the next time you find yourself exhausted from the daily treadmill, or the next time you catch yourself browsing for a new self-help book, hoping it contains the magic bullet, remember the charioteer and the Buddha.
Ask yourself what you're really doing.
Ask yourself, are you just running away from the fire into the night, hoping a change of scenery or a new guru will fix it? Or are you finally done with the unrest? Are you ready to stop chasing and start planting your own seeds?
And, as you consider your own internal unrest, I think it's worth examining the broader implications of this text on the world we've actually built.
That's a huge question.
It is. The author observes that everyone is racing, chasing. Our entire modern infrastructure, our economies, our corporate structures, our social hierarchies, it's all fueled by the momentum of that outward race.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over today. If finding true sustainable contentment requires abandoning the outward race and ignoring outside wants and needs, what happens to the kingdom's weight?
If everyone stopped.
Right. If tomorrow every single person woke up and simply decided to pause, to journey inward, and to come home to their own face, refusing to chase the next external milestone, what would happen to a society built entirely on endless ambition?
Would the kingdom collapse under the sudden absence of desire?
Or would we finally build a world that isn't constantly on fire? I mean, if achieving the goal and buying the dream house leaves us feeling empty anyway, maybe the heavy kingdom we are all carrying is just an illusion of ashes to begin with, something to explore on your own.